Hey everyone, Jason here from spiritualbabies.net. This is another vlog, and really in these vlogs I'm sharing my opinion and my thoughts on a subject. It doesn't make them right, and I'm sure most people are going to disagree with me on most things, but sometimes things come up on threads that I really can't put into a comment or a return post because it's too long, or I'm not going to be able to get it into text the way I want to. It won't come across properly, and I figure sometimes it's just easier to do this and I'll treat it as a question. So the question is, should we, whatever that we is, proselytize? Now there's a overriding and resounding no to that question within most forms of Judaism, that Jews don't proselytize. It's just a thing that people think. And, you know, most Jews don't proselytize because they're told not to proselytize. That's just a thing, you know. And so something came up in a thread just yesterday in a conversation, and the person said that they'd been in a class and they'd been discussing this, and they were told Jews don't proselytize. And that might be true, it might not be true, but I think the important part of the question here is, what is proselytizing? I mean, what does it mean? So here we go. Here's a definition of proselytize: a convert who attempts to convert somebody from one religion, belief, or opinion to another. Synonyms to proselytize might be to recruit or to evangelize. Now, there's a thing in Jewish history, and it still happens in the world today, called blood libel or blood accusation. And it's something that Jews still live with, and it's something that still carries on today, and it's something that's been around for 1,000 years, where certain corners of society accuse Jewish people of taking blood in some form, and introducing it into things that they eat, usually from some horrendous source, like babies or Christian babies or Christians. And this nastiness is still spread today. And if you know, if you search online, you'll find within the last 6 months, I'm sure, a newspaper which spreads anti-Semitic and anti-Israel propaganda that will have a blood libel story, comment, or cartoon in it. It's just the way things are. Now, we've got a couple of choices. We can allow people to think that that's the truth, or we can say that's not the truth and this is what the actual truth is, and we can offer textual and historical and contextual evidence to support what the actual truth is. Now, I'm not forcing or brainwashing anyone to believe what I believe, but what I am doing is offering up the truth. What's that got to do with proselytizing? Well, proselytizing is kind of forcing someone to change, to I mean, one word they use instead of proselytizing is to brainwash. So let's consider what a conversion is and what converting is, in the sense of becoming a Jew. So as a Gentile, if I wanted to convert to become a Jew, I would study out Judaism as a culture and as a belief. You know, this isn't the case in all synagogues. I mean, I believe that you can go to some synagogues today without any faith in the Creator at all, or even in the text of the Bible, and culturally convert and be accepted as a Jew in lots of communities. So much of what I'm talking about in conversion here, I'm referring to religious conversion. Okay, so as a non-Jew, I could convert. I'd approach a synagogue who was open to the idea of conversion. I'd get to know them. I'd become part of the community. I'd have people drive past in motorbikes. I'd become part of the community. I'd get involved in the community. to such a point where people would trust me, trust my intentions, trust my faith, my commitment, and through a series of classes over a long period of time, I would learn what being a Jew is, what Judaism is, what the expression of my faith is through Judaism, and I would convert. It's not just a flicking a switch. And nobody is there lined up to tell me what to think. I have to come to those conclusions myself. And yeah, there will be classes on different parts of the Bible, different parts of maybe Talmud study, areas of Judaism which I wouldn't have become accustomed to, that I will become accustomed to. But I'm in charge of that. I'm driving that bus. So I have to find out if what I'm hearing is true and take that on board. It's not anyone's job to convince me of what to think. It's my job to find out if what I'm hearing is true and to live with those choices. So in the sense of proselytizing being a attempt to convert someone from one belief to another, I absolutely agree that we shouldn't do that. That, you know, in that context, we shouldn't proselytize. No one should go out to take somebody's mind and opinion on a subject and force it to change in a non-voluntary way, or even in a voluntary way. If the person, I mean, I hear a lot of stories where people who I've accepted Jesus since I was 12. I really needed him in my life. I was having a really hard time. Someone said Jesus can help, so I prayed to Jesus, and you know what? Things got better, and then I started reading the Bible. Right, in that instance, the trust that they place in this person, Jesus, is in no way based on anything that they knew about Jesus, because they didn't know anything about Jesus. And so that's a way, maybe, of proselytizing, of changing someone's mind on a subject without any evidence, without any data, without any context, without any text. And that's wrong too. Approaching people that just don't know, bamboozling them into thinking something without giving them a chance to understand what it is you're trying to say is wrong. So in that instance, proselytizing is wrong. But are we talking about proselytizing, or are we talking about, just in the case of the blood libel, are we talking about sharing what the truth is and giving people a chance to find out what the stripped down version of what they believe is, especially if they've come from a different faith, especially if they're maybe a Christian and they're like, I don't understand if Paul's right. I'm not sure if I believe in the Trinity, but the only option for me to search out any of this stuff or to have a relationship with God in my hometown, in my home country, maybe, is to do it via the church. It's the only door open to me. So in that instance, I believe it's absolutely right to give them another door, another option to come and look at the text and see what everybody believed before 100 AD. Before 100 BCE, people believed the Bible said what the Jews believe the Bible says now. It's just a fact. Jesus didn't read the New Testament. None of the apostles read the New Testament. None of Jesus' uncles and aunties read the New Testament. I mean, it didn't exist. Didn't exist within the natural lifetimes of any of the people in the New Testament. So my point here is, to convert somebody is for them to go through a process, or for them to volunteer themselves through a process of understanding and learning and placing things in context, or it's for someone to convince someone without them really taking part. So, does this happen in the text? Well, my immediate response to Jews don't proselytize is they absolutely do. They absolutely do. If we're looking at Jews being Israel, okay, so Abraham is traditionally the first Jew. Then we see the 12 sons of Jacob. They go into Egypt. And who leaves Egypt? Is it just the 12 sons? No, it's not. It's a whole load of other people, mixed multitude. Now, they are not Israel in the sense of the children of Jacob. They are people who have come to a faith in the one God, who want to live within the 12 tribes, and who at Sinai sign us exactly the same agreement, and they become Israel. Now, they have converted in their own way. Now that's proselytizing. And you see that a ton of times. Now, when Moses goes into a land, Israel either slaughters, or sometimes people will kind of run, or they'll take in people. And this taking in, yeah, it has to be proselytizing in the sense of people joining your people after they've made a decision to do that based on what's right, what's wrong, what they believe, what they don't believe. Heavy stuff. So really it's the problem. I think the problem is the word rather than the action. To go out and change somebody's opinion without giving them the facts, and to kind of dupe them through emotion or bamboozling them through smarts, to accept something that they wouldn't normally accept, or to accept something without them having the opportunity to figure it out themselves, that's completely wrong. But to give a rational human being who wants to learn more about the Bible and more about their Creator the opportunity to study that out, and then the opportunity to accept a new understanding, and perhaps spend time with people who accept that understanding, and maybe down the road they decide they want to be Jews. Maybe they don't, right? Maybe they decide that they absolutely believe what the Jewish people believe, but they're happy being who they are, and they're just going to live alongside the Jews. Also good. That's fine. But to stop people, I think, to stop people offering that door, to slamming the door in the face of the people who are interested in learning, are interested in walking away from the traditions of their youth, and exploring more mature ideas about the text. It's not good. I think it's almost like a spiritual murder. It's like a spiritual incarceration at the very least. You're keeping these people in a prison that they didn't build, that they made usually these choices based on emotional terms. It's very rare someone decides that this weekend I'm going to read the Bible, and they get to the end and say, oh, you know what, I think I believe in Jesus. Normally I believe in Jesus, then I'll have a read of the Bible, and I'll start at the back, and then I'll just have a look at the front when it's directs me to those passages. And someone is, and we're told in the text that when someone makes a mistake like that they make a mistake and they don't realize they're making it, that we have to assume that they didn't know any better, and you give them another shot. And by leaving the door open, and by giving, by becoming a channel, a vessel, of going in and saying, you know, you guys may have made a mistake. If you're interested in another option, I'm really happy to talk to you about what I believe and what the Bible says. To not to give them that option, I think it's wrong. But that's just me. So there we are. Should we proselytize? We absolutely should, and should not, depending on your idea of what proselytize says. But should we give people the opportunity to learn from what we've learned? Yes, we absolutely should. So that's it. I went on a little bit longer than I had hoped for. So there was this week's question of the week, although I don't do one every week. So this week's question of this week. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.